It's pretty hard to think of the Sydney skyline without picturing the Sydney Opera House. This year, as part of Vivid Festival 2014, UK company 59 Productions are responsible for lighting the sails and bathing it in animations and visuals every single night. I'm Lexi Savides for CNET. Let's go behind the scenes and take a look at some of the tech that's making it happen.
We're using 14 Christie 20K projectors mounted on the ferry port opposite the Opera House. They are converged multiple units onto each of 4 areas on the sails. So we've broken the Opera House down into 4 channels basically, and we're using multiple projectors on each of those channels. Each one of those channels is controlled by a Datatom watch-out server, again with a central control system which manages the playout to all of those machines. So it's a fairly standard linear playback system with quite a lot of complex work on the content to really make it map to the Opera House. So I've never been to Sydney until this week, but one of the processes that we employ with a lot of our work, whether it's in a theatre, an opera house, architectural mapping on the outside of a building, is that we actually create a real-world 3D model in our studio. So for Sydney we had a 3D print made of an architecturally accurate 1:300 model, which we then projection mapped in the studio. So we were able to create a very accurate representation, albeit much, much smaller. So that when we arrived here, in fact 24 hours after the plane touched down, we were looking at images on the side of the Opera House, and it was very pleasing to see how close they were to our kind of real-world visualization that we've been able to make. So on the one hand, we work with those 3D models, tactile things that you can move around and check different projector angles and so on, but we also pre-visualize in CG. So we're using Cinema 4D to actually move around the Opera House to create kind of virtual shots and virtual moving shots to get a sense of what it might look like as you travel around the harbour. So as well as creating a lot of 2D, 3D, 2.5D animation work, we've combined that with a lot of live action filming. So after we had our 1:300 architectural model made, we then took a cast of that and created a number of kind of replica models in a number of different materials. So we used plaster, gel wax, copper, aluminium, various different materials, and we then filmed those at 4K resolution, 120 frames or 240 frames a second, high speed, in order to create sort of what we're calling organic effects. So things like water running down the outside of the Opera House, like superheating the copper version of it, like smashing the glass wax version, like melting the wax version, like hurling paint at some of the plaster versions. So while there's this kind of backbone of digital animation, we've composited that together with a large amount of live action, which gives it a kind of, hopefully, much more tactile, much more visceral feeling. And there are moments when you're not quite sure if there's a lighting effect on the Opera House or whether it's projection or whether we're somehow messing with the materials of the actual surface.
Even though many of the visitors might not know about the tech behind the scenes, there's no doubt that the finished result of lighting the sails is something special.